Hello and welcome. I am Lian Buan and this is Rappler Talk. New data shows the disproportionate number of killings of lawyers under the 5 years of President Rodrigo Duterte compared to the number of lawyer killings in all the former presidents combined before him since Ferdinand Marcos. Data from the Free Legal Assistance Group or FLAG combined with the lists of Supreme Court and Department of Justice shows 61 lawyers were killed under Duterte and 49 lawyers in a span of 44 years. To talk about that, we have the Metro Manila Coordinator of FLAG and the former spokesperson of the Supreme Court, Attorney Ted. Hello po.
Hi,
Good
Lian.
day.
Hi.
Hello po. Pag-usapan muna natin yung data na pinublish nyo very late Sunday night at nag-create agad ng ripple on Twitter. Ano yung nagtulak sa flag para tignan ng maigi itong mga lawyer killings?
Actually, matagal na namin minomonitor yan because if you notice from the data we have, the first name on the list is a flag lawyer. No? The brother of Congressman Edsel Lagman, no? Herman Lagman, who was a labor lawyer and was actually the first official desaparecido. And until now, he has not been surfaced. No? And so, and during the Cory years, no, there were also lawyers who were killed, and so many of them were members of FLAG. So we've actually been monitoring, but yung numbers were internal to us. But
Yeah.
of course, hindi mo mapagkaila na tumaas talaga eh. Tapos mabilis yung pagtaas, no? And so as more and more this issue started to galvanize, no, lawyers from all across. Dati, mana natin sabihin yung usual suspects lang yung maingay eh. But now, more and more lawyers have become concerned about the rising number of lawyers being killed. As you can see, by no means is that the complete number, no.
Mhm.
But I think the one thing that cannot be siguro disputed is the increase, no, and the rapid increase also in a very short period of time of lawyers killed.
So pre-existing documentation na pala yung listahan nyo since before pa and you were just compelled to publicize it now.
Internal to us, no, of course we want to remember our members, and of course we're concerned if people we know who are lawyers, fellow practitioners, have also been killed, no.
Was there a final pivotal moment for you guys and sabi mo nga for all the lawyers who were not as outspoken before? Maybe it's the attack on attorney AK Gillian in Iloilo. What prompted the lawyers to speak out this much?
Halo-halo, no. Of course, the latest attack on Attorney Gillian, within the context of what was going on as far as FLAG was concerned in the in the orals before the Supreme Court in the anti-terrorism arguments, no. But ang mahirap kasi dito is that until merong malinaw na investigasyon at may malinaw na resulta ng investigasyon, hindi talaga natin malalaman, no? At nagiging komplikado pa lalo dahil merong mga tangka na mag-surveillance, merong mga tangka na mag red tag. Kahit na sa mga abogado, may mga tangka na i-profile yung mga abogado dahilan lamang sa kliyenteng hinahawakan nila, no? So, yun ang nakakabahala siguro, no? At kung masasabi natin ano ba yung nag-udyok na siguro ilabas na ito para lalong pag-usapan, no, at lalong siguro itulak sa Korte Suprema na kadali, no, ang tawag niyo sa amin mga abogado are officers of the court. Siguro kung may pangunahing may kapangyarihan o di kaya may mandato o may tungkulin na pangalagaan ang tinatawag na officers of the court, mga abogado, no, mga huwes, mga prosecutors, no, mga defense lawyers, PAW lawyers, for example, maraming PAW lawyers na pinatay, no. Dapat ang Korte Suprema. Siguro yun pa ng udyok.
Jump off na ako sa sinabi mong kung merong makakagawa ng action, ito ang Korte Suprema. Ang tanong ko ay, syempre, the Supreme Court has always been described as a passive institution. Wala naman silang magagawang aktibo. Pero ano ba yung pwede nilang gawin on its own or by its own initiative?
Hindi siguro hindi siguro kompletong litrato yun, no, ng tungkulin ng Korte Suprema. Totoo na ang Korte Suprema ay passive pagdating sa mga kasong inihaharap sa kanila. Hindi kailangan nila mag-antay na may maghain ng kaso sa kanila. Pero sa isang banda, merong magagawa ang Korte Suprema dahil sa ilalim ng saligang batas, no, ang Korte Suprema ang siyang may pangunahing tungkulin na pangalagaan at i-oversee yung administrative supervision of all the lower courts. That's an administrative power na ibinigay sa Korte Suprema, no? At doon maaring gumawa ng hakbang ang Korte Supremo. Motu proprio, hindi kailangan mag-antay, no? Yung pangalawang basihan kung bakit natin sinasabi na hindi passive yung korte, no? Pagdating dito sa ibang kapangyarihan niya. Sa ilalim ng saligang batas uli, no? Article 8, Section 5, Number 5, may kapangyarihan yung Korte Suprema gumawa ng patakaran, rules, no? Yung rules of court, halimbawa, yan ay gawa ng Korte Suprema. At yung mga rules to protect on constitutional rights, no, sa ilalim ng constitution, no, ng saligang batas, Article 8 on the judiciary, yan ay eksklusibong kapangyarihan ng Korte Suprema. Halimbawa, the rules on the writ of amparo, the rules on the writ of habeas data, no, yan ay dagdag na mga remedyo na ginawa ng Korte Suprema batay dyan sa kapangyarihan na yan. At yan ay ginawa na on its own, na tinatawag natin, no, motu proprio, no, on its own, hindi hiningi, no, ginawa lamang ng Korte Suprema yan.
Doon muna sa administrative supervision power ng Supreme Court, nakita natin yung memorandum nitong March ng Office of the Court Administrator, and it says January pa nag-memorandum si Chief Justice Diosdado Peralta na expressing concern and something must be done, pero March lang na ibaba sa mga lower court judges asking for an inventory of all the cases ng mga atake laban sa mga lawyer. First question, is it moving fast enough? And second, ito ba yung gusto nyong makitang administrative action mula sa Supreme Court?
Isa lamang yan no. Siguro maaari natin sabihin umpisa, no. Siyempre, we start with the facts, we start with data, which is important. But again, no, yung mga huwes, they're actually in a very difficult situation now, no. Many of them had to respond to the pandemic without adequate preparation. No one was prepared last year, no? 1 year ago, no one was prepared. And so, including the court, no? And so, very quickly, they had to respond. They had to adapt to technology. They had to physically change their structures. Lahat yan ginawa nila. Kailangan nilang gawin yon at the same time, continue to hear cases. So, siguro, maring sabihin, mahihirapan din yung mga judges, no, sa trial court to come up with an inventory on top of their additional duties, no. Siguro maring gawin dito ng Korte Suprema on hindsight, hindi kaya maari na galing na sa Korte Suprema yung kukuha ng datos na yon, no. Maari naman sigurong i-subcontract yan, kumuha ng ilang mga extra personnel para hindi na gawin ng korte yan, ng mga korte. As it is now, overloaded na ang mga trial courts, no. Alam natin yan, no. Doon lamang sa mga hinuli nitong lockdown na ito na nagpapatuloy. Yung mga yon, yung iba doon hindi pa nga nakakalaya on bail, no. So to add this to their responsibilities, I think might not be reasonable, no. Siguro maaaring gawin ng Korte Suprema dito, yun nga, magtalaga ng tao, no, at sabihin, kami nagagawa ng inventory, kunin namin yung datos sa inyo. Ang tinitingnan lang naman natin dito ay dun sa mga lawyers na pinatay. Ito ba ay may kinalaman dito sa kasong hinahawakan nila, no? Hindi naman lahat ng kaso ang titingnan no? So, siguro dun sa una. Pangalawa, is it moving fast enough? Again, we're saying medyo urgent, no? Tumataas yung number of lawyers being killed, being threatened, no? And so, siguro more than that ang maaring gawin, no. This is not an ordinary time. This is an extraordinary time. We're in a pandemic, yet lawyers are being killed, no. And so siguro dito lamang sa pagkakataon na ito, baka maaring gawin ng Korte Suprema gumawa ng panibagong paraan, no, kung paano tumugon doon sa panawagan ng mga abogado, no, at mga ibang mga huwes. Alam ko may mga ibang huwes internally through channels, they've already expressed their concern as well, no, because their fellow judges have also been killed, no. I probably would think even prosecutors have raised that concern, even PAW lawyers have raised that concern, no.
Doon naman sa power to promulgate rules, yung nabanggit mo nga, the Supreme Court promulgated the rules on the privilege of the writ of amparo na ginawa nila nung 2007 lang, and in the same context kasi nagkakaroon din ng patayan at mga disappearance. Ano yung proposal niyong gawin ng Supreme Court ngayon? Is it to promulgate new rules? Kung meron namang mga kritisismo na yung existing rules nga ng amparo and the habeas corpus and the habeas data actually ay parang hindi na epektibo sa panahon ngayon.
Uh, may mga nagsasabi dati, no? Bago pa nangyari ito, na baka hindi na masyadong tumutugon yung amparo, no, doon sa pangangailangan. At alam ko may reaksyon ng korte doon na pag-aaralan nila, no, kung talagang tumutugon pa ba ang amparo at di kaya ang habeas data dito sa pangangailangan ngayon. Siguro maaari doon mag-umpisa, no? Pero more than that, pag-aralan din sana ng Korte Suprema, no? Kung may pangangailangan bang gumawa ng mas bagong hakbang, no? May pangangailangan bang sigurong gumawa ng guidelines o di kaya baka panibagong rule, no? Sana tingnan ng korte ito bilang siguro again, no? Di pangkaraniwang hiling ng mga abogado na let's not just stick to what we know. Let's think of something, no? Because this is not an ordinary situation. This is an extraordinary situation. And maybe what is needed is an extraordinary measure. We recall in 2007, no, the Chief Justice Renato Puno, no, and the court, and the Supreme Court, no, called for an extraordinary summit. And it was unheard of that the third branch of government, yung sinasabi mo nga the passive branch of government, acted simply because the two other branches did not act, right? And so the third branch acted, called a national summit, convened members of the other branches, and joining together, consulted, came up with proposals, and because of that, what emerged were two writs, no, two human rights writs, the writ of amparo, and then the writ of habeas data, promulgated by the court, no, and that was because of the recognition by the court at the time na hindi ordinaryo yung situation, no, hindi pangkaraniwang yung situation, extraordinary yung situation in 2007. And so we're hoping that maybe the court will also see it in this light, that this is not an ordinary situation. 61 lawyers, no, in a span of almost 5 years, no, is not an ordinary number, no? So
Siyempre, any action that will come from the Supreme Court will require manpower or even budget, or especially budget. Pero would it help to start with the Supreme Court making a public statement or standing publicly for its lawyers or expressing concern? Or is that even fair to ask of the Supreme Court to make a public statement?
I think it will help, no. I don't know whether the court would want to do that, but I think it will help, that in the same way that I think previous chief justices and even Chief Justice Peralta, whenever, for example, a judge has been killed, would express, sympathies and condolences to the family of the judge. But yes, it helps, but siguro hindi dapat maiwan lamang doon, no? Hindi dapat maiwan lamang doon dahil hindi natin dapat tingnan na isolated na siya, no? Siguro ang una siguro ding tingnan diyan is yun nga, connected ba to sa trabaho? Kasi kung hindi naman connected sa trabaho, let's say there was a private dispute, then at least we know, right? Ang pinakamahirap kasi dito sa mga ganitong sitwasyon, no, for those who are left behind, no, is the not knowing, no. For example, again, we go back to Attorney Herman Lagman, no, the first official recorded desaparecido, it is so difficult to refer to him in the past tense. We don't know. No? Kasi hindi natin alam eh.
Dahil nga pumipili ngayon ng panibagong Chief Justice, siguro importante rin pag-usapan, ano ba yung special or unique power ng isang punong maestrado para aksyonan yung mga ganitong klaseng issue na hindi na kailangang magkaroon pa ng, or kasi diba sinasabi nga nila, it's primus inter pares, it's just first among equals, baka kailangan pang kunin ang agreement ng other 14. But what is the special or unique power of a Chief Justice to move on these concerns?
Totoo yun, ano? The Chief Justice is primus inter pares. She or he is one vote of 15, right? But in a very real sense as well, the Chief Justice leads the court, no? And the Chief Justice leads the judiciary. But in a very real sense, the vision of a Chief Justice for the court, no, is important. How to get there, how the vision is achieved is also important, no? So kasama na 'yan, halo-halo diyan, no? Ano yung nakikita ng punong maestrado na dapat ginagawa o dapat pinapatuloy ng Korte Suprema sa liderato niya, no? Sa ilalim ng liderato niya, mahalaga 'yon. But when it comes to implementing, let's say, policy for the judiciary, when it comes to proposing policy for the judiciary, in a very real sense, the Chief Justice leads the judiciary. Kung ano yung pananaw niya, ano yung vision niya for the judiciary, no? Chances are, yung korte susunod no? Kung kaya niyang makuha yung buy-in ng NBank, for example, susunod yung korte doon no? Doon mo makikita kung paano nagkakaroon ng pagkakaiba. Depende kung sino yung Chief Justice na nakaupo. So that's why mahalaga kung sinong nakaupo.
So yung power of administrative supervision and power to promulgate rules ay pwedeng pangunahan ng Chief Justice yung power na yun.
Again, in a very, I'll point to, for example, Chief Justice Puno.
Yeah.
Right? When Chief Justice Puno, with the court, led the summit, called for the summit, right? It was unprecedented. It was, unheard of that the Supreme Court, this passive agency of government, would take an active role, no? But because the court rallied behind the call, no, and it was a unanimous court, basically said, okay, let's do this, right? So malinaw, and yan, it was an adjudicative matter, diba? It was basically an administrative matter, right? So it was something that was not within the deliberations of the court. So in that sense, we could say Chief Justice Puno was not acting as primus inter pares. He was leading the judiciary in that call, no? So maring ganun yung halimbawa na gawin ng isang punong maestrado.
At si Chief Justice Sereno din, alongside the former senior justices Velasco and Carpio, gumawa ng isang human rights technical working group. So in that context, how is Chief Justice Peralta faring?
Chief Justice Peralta was a former prosecutor, was a former trial court judge, was a former Court of Appeal, Sandigan Bayan justice and presiding justice, no? He's a manager, no? He's a manager. So I think I will just allow the Chief Justices para kumbaga policies, no, to speak for itself. What he has led, no, what he has advocated, no, very zealously, is really the speeding up of processes, and that reflects his management style. Yun, ganun siya. He is basically a judge, a trial judge, no, and so siguro pag tinanong mo siya, di ko alam kung sasagutin ka niya pag tinanong mo siya. Pero pag tinanong mo siya, maaari sasabihin niya yung legacy niya, yung continuous trial guidelines, no? Yung pagpapabilis ng kaso, no? Maaari yun yung sabihin niya, o di kaya yung pangalawa, yung small claims, no? Pero ganun ang style ni Chief Justice Peralta.
You mentioned legacy. He has one more week left as Chief Justice. How will this issue define his legacy for you?
Well, he has 1 week to maybe start. Definitely hindi niya matatapos, no? Sana, no? Sana naman kasi I'm sure alam ni CJ Peralta ito, no? At sana pwede niya umpisahan, no? And definitely kahit hindi niya matapos, no? Something meaningful can always just be started, no? And once it is started, and it can be continued as long as the steps are taken to make it a sustainable effort, then that's great, no? I remember when I read the decision in Real Almonte, no? May panukala si Justice Leonen dun sa kanyang separate opinion na di kaya gustong pag-isipan ni Chief Justice Peralta na gumawa ng halimbawa writ of kalayaan, no? So yung mga ganung klase, maaring niyang umpisahan kahit na hindi niya matapos. At least sinimulan niya, inumpisahan niya. So siguro, I mean, he has 1 week, 1 week left, no, before his birthday. Happy birthday, Chief. Pero yun, isang linggo, maraming maaaring gawin in one week, no. Uh, there are courtesies and traditions that are observed by the court, no, and usually may mga tinatawag silang valedictory, no. So baka gusto gawin ni CJ Peralta, no? Kasama sa valedictory niya to simply say, let's protect our lawyers, let's protect our judges, let's protect our prosecutors, no? Kahit na hindi ko matapos ito, at least inumpisahan ko, no?
And para dun sa pipiliing bagong punong maestrado, how important and crucial for him or her to address this quickly right away?
I think it will be very very important, no. Again, ma- mahirap buuin yung mga abogado, no. uh, by our training, by our nature, no, we are always adversarial even against each other, no. Madalas hindi nagkakasundo-sundo yung mga abogado, no. Yung biro nga doon, pag tinanong mo yung 10 abogado kung ano yung definition ng justice, you will get 20 questions, 20 answers, right? One for each side, no? But here there is, a growing consensus, no? Nagkakaisa na nakakabahala yung nangyayari dun sa mga abogado, no? And even if you do not know many of these people personally, no? Many people know these lawyers, no? And so nagkakaisa na hindi na pangkaraniwan, no? Nakakabahala yung sitwasyon. So kung sino man yung papalit kay CJ Peralta, no? Any of the three, no? Because there are only 3 nominees, no? Any of the three, definitely I think this will be one issue that the new Chief Justice will have to address and hopefully address very quickly and very urgently, no?
Isa sa mga ginagawa naman na ngayon, yung ongoing dialogue among the justice sector. So the Supreme Court, the Department of Justice, and the PNP, and that is under the mechanism of the Justice Sector Coordinating Council or JSCC. Ang isang concern lang dun ay, paano kung may mistrust with the policemen sa dialogue na yun, seeing that, sabi nga ng study nyo, at least 4 cases ang perpetrator nung pumatay sa abogado ay police. How will that, is there a mistrust or how will that mistrust factor in kung paano magpa-pan out ang mga dialogue na to?
Well, again, it depends on whose point of view, right? Of course, if you talk to those who have been victimized, no, they will definitely say, hindi, wala kami tiwala dyan, right? But if we're talking institutional, right? If we're talking institutional, and we're talking that within the parameters of the JSCC, no, which is an office, well, not an office, it's basically as a framework to allow the 3 agencies, no, the judiciary led by the Supreme Court, the DILG, which includes the PNP, and the DOJ, no, to sit down and discuss issues affecting the justice sector, no. And so on an institutional level, siguro maaari nating sabihin, pwede ba nating tingnan yung katotohanan, no, and see where we are strong, where we are weak, where we need to plug in the holes, no. Meron bang pagkukulang dito? Kasi kung walang pagkukulang, pwede natin patuloy yan. Pero may pagkukulang dito, dapat natin punuan, no? So yes, sana pag-usapan yon within that context. And again, no, that's an existing structure. We don't need to reinvent that. That's already there, no? May nangyayari na before pa doon. So, maaaring i-activate lamang yon at magkaroon ng siguro masinsinang upuan to say, pwede ba natin pag-usapan ito, no? Itong apila ng mga abogado na kasama din yung ibang abogado ng DOJ, no? Kasi yung PAO nasa ilalim ng DOJ, yung prosecutors nasa ilalim ng DOJ, no? So, maaaring gawin yun.
In your assessment though, meron bang capacity or even willingness or even honesty yung gobyernong to para sabihin, tignan nga natin kung ano ang katotohanan at tignan nga natin kung saan tayo nagkakamali o kung saan tayo mahina?
I'd like to think that there should still be people who want to sincerely get things done, no. The environment we are operating on is such a toxic environment already. No, there's a lot of distrust. There's a lot of and in a lot of instances, deservedly so. No, but you know, if we're going to get out of this, intact, not only as individuals, but as a people, as a citizenry, we need to start saying, look, there needs to be something that can be done, and that has to start with people who are professional enough to say, look, may mga linya na hindi dapat natin tinatawid, no? May mga linya na dapat hanggang doon lamang, kapag lumagpas sa linya ay dapat managot na, no? Ang tanong doon is, nasan yung linyang yun? No? At nakikita ba yung linyang yun? At maaari bang igiit yung linyang yun? No? Dapat manindigan tayo na to say, mali. Mali yung ginawa niya, kahit na sino pa yan, at dapat panagutan niya yun. No? Doon nag-uumpisa yung tinatawag nating stopping impunity. No? Kasi kapag nagpatuloy tayo na sinasabi na hindi mahirap kalabanin yan dahil napakalaking kalaban, no? O di kaya, kakampi yan Hindi dapat nating labanan, hindi natin dapat panagutan. Diyan nag-uumpisa impunity And when impunity sets in, then you have things like this happening, things like this getting mainstream, things like this getting into the ordinary run of things. And then people start not to feel anything, right? People start not to feel outrage. People start to feel, okay, this is part of life, right? And when that happens, then we've really lost. No, we've really lost. I'd
Okay.
like to think, hindi pa tayo dun. Wala pa tayo dun.
To wrap up, I have to ask this question. Your data shows nga a disproportionate number of killing under President Duterte. And we asked Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara that, and he said he cannot relate the high number to President Duterte dahil delikado naman daw ang maging abogado, sino man ang presidente. Could you really detach President Duterte from this issue?
I will. Our data did not contain an analysis. We just let the numbers speak for itself. You will see that it does not mention the president. It just says the administration. Unfortunately, the administration is associated with specific presidents, right? And so we will just let the numbers speak for itself. If there are more, then the data is a starting point to add more to that, no. But as to the statement of the Justice Secretary, I think that is unfortunate. No, nowhere in law school are lawyers told that lawyering is a contact sport. No, maybe in court, in the adversarial process, yes, lawyering can be a contact sport. But lawyering is not just simply going to court. Lawyering is not just simply engaging the adversarial process. No, lawyering involves helping people. Lawyering involves giving advice to those who do not understand the law. Lawyering involves teaching law students to become the best lawyers and the best persons. No, lawyering involves all of those. No, and so to say that lawyering is an inherently dangerous profession, I'm not sure where that comes from. No, I am not sure where that comes from. Maybe I would agree if he would say lawyering has become a dangerous profession. And then maybe I would ask, kanino
Why?
kasalanan yun?
So same as the Supreme Court or the Chief Justice can do something, meron din bang imprimatur kay President Duterte na baka meron ka rin pwedeng gawin for the lawyers who are also your fellow lawyers?
Unfortunately, under our system, di ba, the primary is really the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has to take action. It really has to move. No? At again, maraming gawin. We're not saying the court should do it in isolation. No? The reality of it, the court cannot do anything by itself. Right? You mentioned a budget earlier. For example, if the court really wants to put in place a system to protect lawyers, no, it has to go to Congress to ask for a budget. No, I know that there have been moves even before during the time of Chief Justice Sereno, and some of the justices who are there know this. No, to institute a distinctly organic security force for the Supreme
The
Court.
judicial marshals.
Well, yes, that name evolved, no, but initially it was really intended for the court to have a force that it was under its supervision to serve processes, for example, to enforce judgments, because isa pa yan eh, no? Nanalo ka na at hindi mo ma-enforce dahil yun, malakas yung kalaban, hindi, hindi mapa-enforce, no? And from that to maybe the most extreme, to provide security for lawyers, judges, prosecutors, no? So kasama yun eh. And even a measure like that, no? The court cannot provide for that on its own. That's not part of the rule-making power of the court. That has to go to Congress. It has to go to legislation. The court has to ask for a budget for it, right? And so, yun, uh, ano yan eh, example yan ng an initiative, for example, a measure that the court is doing. Because I know the court is actively pushing for that, right? The passage of the Judicial Marshals Act, no? And so, yun yung sinasabi ko na it has to come from the court eh. No, kasi pag malinaw yung signal ng court, no, na mahalaga sa amin ito. Dahil mahalaga sa amin yung welfare ng aming mga abogado, ng aming mga hukom, ng aming mga prosecutor, ng aming mga PAW lawyer. Then the court should then take the steps to coordinate with government, no? Without sacrificing, no? Without sacrificing its independence, without sacrificing the separation of powers, no? Siyempre mahirap na ano yan, mahirap na balancing act yan. But it can be done. No, it can be done. So yun, that's an example, no? It starts with the court eh. It cannot come from anyone else, no? It has to start with the court. The court has to send a clear signal, I think. And hopefully when the court sends that signal, no, it can back it up with its ascendancy to say, look, we are this is the third branch of government, no? We are acting to protect our officers of the court.
Okay, a lot to chew on. I hope that the justices are watching. Thank you so Thank you so much. That was Attorney Ted, the Metro Manila Coordinator of FLAG and the former spokesperson of the Supreme Court. This is Lian Wan. Thank you for watching Rappler Talk.